Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my live streams. Not sure if you guys are able to tell, but I'm actually a little under the weather today. I was my family has been struck with a little bit of an illness, some kind of cold, and it finally hit Dad. So I'm suffering just a little bit, but we are going to power through this as best we can. And even though I'm a little under the weather, I felt compelled to jump on here today to talk a little bit about Powers of 10, which dropped yesterday. I had a chance to read it late last night after the live stream that I did last night. I immediately went into the other room and actually read it. And could not sleep last night. So I woke up and I read it again. So I basically read it 2 times last night. And I want to share with you some of my thoughts about that. I want to share with you a little bit of an announcement that I think is really cool. So I got a couple of things that I want to kind of get to. And before we get going here, I want to say hello to some comic book soldiers that have joined me here in the room. Omar is here. Comic Book Lurkers is here. Sully 2 Kings is in the house. It's good to see you, my friend. Paperbacks and Soundtracks and Snapbacks is in the house. Randy is here. How you doing, my friend? Steve Rogers, 2 nights in a row. I see you, brother. Thank you for hanging out with me. I definitely appreciate it. This dude was in the live streams all the time for quite some time. And I think he's gotten a little busy with life in general and hasn't been able to make it out all that often. But we do have Captain America in the room 2 nights in a row now. Sully 2 Kings, I said hello to you, but let's say it again and throw you up on screen there. James Howard is in the house. Sith AF is in the house. My man Sith dropped some gems earlier today on the video that I released today at 3:30. One of the things that you guys know about me is that I don't always need people to agree with me. But I do like when people are able to disagree and then fully explain and articulate why they feel the way that they do, because I learn from it. And I love just a civil debate. And so I want to give a huge shout out to my man Sith AF for dropping some knowledge in the chat or in the comment section on my video earlier today. So how you doing, brother? It is good to see you. Kaloy's Comics, maybe? I will butcher a name. You, sir, ma'am, thank you for hanging out on the live stream. Scrolling to the name, Sean, how you doing, my friend? It is good to see you. I am doing well. Thank you very much. Drop one of the G's from that, and I'll be doing even better. But no, I am doing well. Little under the weather. I was kind of talking about the family has been hit with a cold, and finally took me down yesterday after yesterday's live stream. So I'm a little off today, but my goal is to feel better in time for the Silicon Valley Comic-Con that is going down this weekend. Seriously debating taking off from work and actually going down, but that clearly is not going to happen now that I've done a live stream and announced that I was thinking about doing it. So Comic Book Lurkers, good to see you. Nathan McCall is in the house. It is good to see you, my friend. John's Comics with Kids. Wayne is here. It is good to see all you guys. And again, thank you guys for hanging out with me just a little bit. I am doing well, my friend. Little under the weather, but I'm doing well. 409G Money. It is good to see you. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to show you guys a fantastic piece of artwork that came from my man Seabird Studios over. He is on Instagram, and Seabird Studios, actually, dude's name is Charlie. Fantastic young guy, college student. I started working with him several months ago. He did this wonderful commission for me that I ended up, turning into print pieces, and he and I kind of collaborated to kind of sell some of those. And I contracted him again to do some artwork for me when a subscriber of the channel encouraged me to do a Gibbon related t-shirt. And so that piece of artwork finally arrived today. It's a little damaged, but I think I can press it. I think I can press out the defects. I think these are all pressable defects. So we're going to press these defects out. Then I'm going to find somebody that can actually turn this thing into a cool t-shirt for me. But I think this thing's really cool. So it is basically a Regie Collects t-shirt here. That's what we're going to turn this thing into. We're going to slap it together on a nice shirt, nice high quality shirt. and turn it into something cool. But you have Regie collects, and then you have the Gibbon's face right there in the middle. So we're actually going to, like I said, turn that thing hopefully into some t-shirts, and folks will dig it. I'm not quite sure of all of the details about how we're going to do it, but I think we are going to do it. Daniel Rogers, how you doing, my friend? I will not be in Boston. I am actually headed to the Silicon Valley Comic-Con this weekend. And then next week, I'll actually be traveling to Gaithersburg, Maryland. So I'm going to be out there hanging around. So scrolling down through some of the comments, Gibbon Gang is in the house. The Gibbon Gang is growing like leaps and bounds. I kid you not. A lot of people are sending in their Amazing Spider-Man 110 images to me on Instagram. So people are definitely getting in on the action. So definitely a cool thing. And then I heard, I think it was on Lords of the Long Box, they talked about that they have this Marvel Insider thing to do. They call them like the Marvel Knight or the Black Knight or something like that. And this dude basically gives Lords of the Long Box insider information as to what is happening at Marvel. And so basically they announced, I think it was yesterday, the day before, I can't remember, that the Gibbon has actually been placed by Kevin Feige on a reserve list. And this reserve list is basically Kevin Feige's, like, it's his bench, right? Where he's like bench, B-E-N-C-H, bench, where he is basically like, these are characters that I want to hold in reserve because I may use them in some way, shape, or form, i.e. in a MCU movie or something like that. And by putting them on the reserve list, he basically signals to like Jeff Loeb or whoever is working on, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever it happens to be, that this character is off limits. And so it was kind of revealed, supposedly, right? This is all speculation, that the Gibbon is on this reserve list. And so there was comments about him being potentially a homeless man or something like that. So we could be seeing the Gibbon in the MCU, and maybe after, I don't know, 30 some odd years, it is time for Marvel's newest superstar to actually take the stage in an MCU movie. That's all that I'm saying. What are you giving away now? So it may be going down. Sully Two Kings, I hear you, brother. So we will see how it all plays out. Who knows what's going to happen? But I just gotta tell people, we were on the Gibbon long before. We were messing around with the Gibbon. I have to find the right spot for that. There you go. There you go. That is a Seaberg creation featuring the Gibbon. This version of the Gibbon is much more handsome than is Martin Blank, the actual Gibbon. But it is what it is. So there you go. That's what we may be turning into a t-shirt at some point, possibly in time for Martin Blank, the Gibbon, to be making an appearance in the MCU. So I am giving away nothing. Sean's like, it's the power of the hashtag. Brother, I'm telling you, this thing is taking on a life of its own. Like every day, I literally get one or two different emails or direct messages from people that are like, I just got my Amazing Spider-Man 110. And I think it's cool. And I've also received, even today, Daniel Yerba, I think it was, actually sent me a Gibbon Street sign because he was rolling down the street in Virginia on Gibbon Street and sent me a street sign. So I absolutely love it. I think it's really cool stuff. And again, everyone knows that it's all about fun. It's all about fun. We're going to see a full-length Gibbon movie in Phase 8. That's what's up. No, it's actually going to revolve. Phase 5 is going to revolve around Cosmic Gibbon. We're not waiting until Phase 8. It's going to be Phase 5. Said this like, that spec news blew my mind. Brother, I think it blew everybody's mind. You know, we're over here playing with this stuff, and who knew that maybe we were on to something before? I don't know. Anyway, so I want to spend just a couple of moments talking about Powers of 10. I had a chance to read it last night, and I'm going to tell you, it was dope. It was dope. I have not, Phase 8, the Ocho, I have not necessarily been like the biggest fan of Powers because I felt like House of X overshadowed Powers of 10 because House of X was really, really compelling. And so I had a chance to read Powers of 10 last night, Powers of 10 2 specifically last night. And it was pretty darn good. I'm going to be honest with you. There were parts of it that I enjoy more than others. But as a whole, I think that Powers of 10 number 2, issue 2, was much better than number 1. I still think House of X is where the action is. But I have a couple of things. Sully Two Kings is like, it was a great read. And I think that it was, man. I really do think that it was actually a pretty solid read. There was the stuff towards the end that got a little dense for me. You know, the math that they were doing, it was a little dense. And I guess that's, again, your whole powers of 10 thing, because it's 10 multiplied by 10. And if you go back and look at those interstitial pages at the very end, you start to see a lot of those numbers multiply by one another to get the larger number. And it's just, it was chaotic. I think I actually need to read that not in the bed and not in the middle of the night, with like in the morning after a cup of coffee when I'm firing on all cylinders, because it was dense. And I think Sully Two Kings agrees that it was a little dense in the backside. So Buster's like, it just shows how much influence you have on your audience and the power. No, I definitely agree with that. I think and what Buster's referring to here is what's happening with the Gibbon and Amazing Spider-Man 110. I would agree with that. There is a certain amount of responsibility that comes with a channel and with the ability to talk to so many people. And I think that it's one of those things that, you know, you have to think about that. You have to think about it from a responsible standpoint as a content creator, that you do have some type of influence. And yes, my channel is all about, hey, you need to think for yourself. But at the same time, there is a power that comes with that. And I think what's great is that I've made it very clear. And I think every single person that listens knows that it's not about money. It's about having some fun. And that is it. The Gibbon is all about fun. It was an organic thing that just came out of a chat and has taken on a life of its own. So I think that everybody gets that. But Buster, I definitely think that you raise an excellent point about the responsibility that the comic book community has to some degree or another to one another, but also as content creators, we have a responsibility. So excellent point there, brother. I definitely cannot disagree with that. Brothers Grimm is in the house. How you doing, my friend? What is this? Powers of 10. Number 2, Phalanx first appearance, X-Men 305. Yep. All right. So I want to show you guys a couple of slides here that I thought were pretty interesting as I was kind of reading through it. And I'm not going to do a ton of this. I'm not going to do a whole lot of this, but I just want to show you guys. Nope, that is not the one that I want to show. That is not it. Which one is it? It is this one right there. Let me see if I can share that the proper way. See if we can make some magic happen. See if I can get the right one. No, that is also not the one. This is the problem with a live stream. Sometimes you get things wrong. And no, still not the right one, I don't think. I should have put these in order. That is my mistake for not being a little better prepared. You guys have my apologies for that. I'll blame it on the sickness. I just blame the sickness. I'll just say it that way. Is this the right one? No, that is not the right one. This is EB. See if we can find this thing. For you guys that cannot tell, my voice is definitely off. I am definitely under the weather. Starting to sweat a little profusely under these lights, but we are going to power through. So forget about it. This is what we're going to do. So I think what's really great about this issue is that one, I think it's pretty well written. I think it's pretty well done. And really where we are is that Moira has reached the point where she has kind of acknowledged that she's tried lots of different things, right? She's tried to do it on her own. She's tried to cure. She's tried to hook up with Charles. She's tried to go to Magneto. She's tried to go to Apocalypse. And none of those things have resulted in any different type of outcome other than mutant kind basically being destroyed. And so I think she's kind of come to the conclusion that in this life, this 10th life that she has, that she might actually have an opportunity to do, again, something slightly different. And so I think that that's what she attempts to do on that particular slide, where she goes to the Bermuda Triangle where Magneto is, and she goes there with Charles Xavier, and she basically says to Charles, they say to Magneto, hey, we want to share some stuff with you. We want you to open up your mind, and we want to hip you to what we have experienced. And so she basically does that. Magneto takes off his helmet. Charles touches Moira's hand, and he basically shares her life's experiences, her 130 some odd years or whatever it is, with Magneto. And he literally falls to his knees. He falls to his knees because he is overwhelmed by the amount of, I guess, like, the amount of truth that was contained in the sharing of those many lives and all the things that she's tried and the devastation and all this kind of stuff. And they basically decide that individually they cannot be successfully, so they have to basically link up, and they basically come together, right? And I thought it was a very powerful moment, because if you think about one of the last videos that I did, I basically talked about how Moira basically radicalized Charles, and I believe that she did. She radicalized Charles by sharing all of this information with him. Magneto he's already radical. He's already radical. There's no need to radicalize him even more. But through the sharing of her experiences across these many lives, he basically sees that he has no choice but to link up with Moira and with Charles. And I found it really compelling where he basically said, or well, let's do what Moira says. I'm not either. I believe that one thing I haven't tried yet. All of mutantdom as one is the thing that means more than just surviving, but thriving and assuring our rightful place on the earth. I found that was very compelling, and I'll tell you why in just a couple of moments. But I liked Magneto's response. Charles is like, hey, join me, bro. Magneto's like, I won't acquiesce to sympathy or doubt, Charles. I won't give an inch. I will check you at every moment of weakness. And if you falter, know that I will not. That's what you kind of expect from Magneto. He's basically like, look, we can do this thing, but if you stutter step at any point, I'm going to tell you what's going on. I'm going to check you, and I'm going to tell you need to step on the gas, and we need to go. It's an interesting moment where, you know, they have basically come to this crossroads where they decide we just need to do this thing together. Now, here's my thing. This is what I think potentially Moira becomes a new age guru. What I think is going to happen, this is my thought. She said all of mutantdom basically must come together. So here's my question. In the next issue of Powers of 10, number 3, will we see Moira, Charles, and Magneto go see Apocalypse? Because we see Apocalypse later on in this book. The question is, will we see them join up with Apocalypse? Because, again, if you think back to the many things that Moira has tried, she went it on her own. She tried to do a cure. She went to Charles. She went to Magneto. She went to Apocalypse. Now, the thing that she has not tried is to bring all of them together. And so that's going to be very interesting, which might also explain why we see Apocalypse on one of the X teams and a book that is coming out in October, because in Powers of 10, number 3, we could see all 3 of these big powers actually come together. Magneto is not playing. Well said. And Sully 2 Kings is like, the dialogue is wonderful. That is absolutely true. It is compelling, powerful language. There's no doubt about it. So I thought that was a very compelling moment when they kind of shook hands and came together. And I will tell you that it was that part of the book that I really, really enjoyed. I enjoyed that whole, to the point that Sully 2 Kings is making here, the dialogue that happens between the 3 of them, that banter, that back and forth. I found that dialogue really compelling. The artwork was okay at certain points in the first section. Now, where I really got into it was this next section where basically where Magneto and Charles are having a conversation with Scott, and they basically reveal to Scott that there is a human organization that has come together to basically stop mutant kind. And we saw this back in some of the earlier issues. It's like AIM, it's SHIELD, it's Hydra, right? It's all of these groups that have come together, basically held their nose because they oppose one another in reality, but they view mutant kind as the enemy. And so they have basically band together. The humans have, which again, says to me that there is probably a chance that all of mutants will band together the same way that the humans have as well. But we also in this issue learn what it was that Mystique actually stole back in issue 1. We found out what it was. I think it was House of X #1. We found out what she stole on that thumb drive. It was basically the documentation around this organization and the existence of the Mother Sentinel. So I thought that was really cool because now we can actually see how this issue ties to some of the earlier issues, which I think is fantastic. And so there is this exchange between basically Charles, Magneto, and Scott, where they are like, look, if this Sentinel comes online, this could basically mean the Nimrod comes online. That can't happen. And Scott's like, so you want me to take care of it? And they're like, yes. And he was like, it'll be done. I mean, I thought that was just, again, powerful dialogue. He said, listen to me, Scott. Remember, this will be a frontal assault on an orbital station tens of millions of miles away, built by secret organization whose sole purpose is the extinction of mutants. Can such a thing be done? Scott says, does it need doing? Charles, yes. Scott, then it will be done. Oh my goodness. This scene right here, reminds me to some degree or another of X-Men 94, one of my favorite spreads in X-Men 94, where you basically have Scott's face in the middle of this, like, you know, spread. That reminds me of that. And it just shows how serious these guys are about protecting mutant kind. They are about to the point, assault a station, a secret station comprised of multiple human organizations that have come together to basically take out mutants. They are about to have a frontal assault on that organization. It is incredible. You talk about let the war begin. It is incredible. And I cannot wait to see how they actually do this. It is going to be fascinating to see how this thing unfolds. And so this whole Mother Sentinel, if they don't get rid of her, then she can create, you know, master molds, and master molds can create multiple I mean, it is bananas. If they don't take this thing out, it could be really, really bad. And so again, the strength of the dialogue, the strength of the artwork and the inking and the coloring on this spread or on this section here is one of my favorites. The colors were kind of unexpected there, and it was really, really well done. The rest of the issue was okay, but it was really these first two sections that I thoroughly enjoyed. You got to take out the mother molds. You got to take it out. Diego, how you doing? Welcome to the live stream, my friend. As I was kind of telling people, I am a little under the weather, but I'm still kind of powering through this. Modern Sage Comics says, how's it going, Reggie? You are welcome, my friend. So this guy he and his buddy just started a pretty cool channel here on YouTube. So if you guys get a chance, check them out. Modern Sage Comics. It is some witty banter that he and his buddy have, and they were sitting there talking about the new X-Men title. So I had to watch it. I absolutely enjoyed it. So if you guys get a chance, make sure you check this guy out. So we had a lot of epiphanies over the course of this book, things that happened previously. We actually received some answers to some of this stuff, which I thought was really cool. And then there's this one section where, if you guys remember, and I think it was maybe at the end of Powers of 10, #1, there were some people that looked like Magneto, that looked like Wolverine, and I can't remember, Zorn maybe, and maybe it was Groot. At least I thought it was Groot. We saw them and we were like, you know, is that Wolverine? Is that Magneto? And in this issue, I think we have a resolution to that. They're basically meeting up with Apocalypse. And we actually find out what it was that Rasputin and Cardinal actually stole. Because if you remember, in one of the previous issues, Cybele was actually captured. She was tortured. They extracted data from her. But then you had Rasputin, who tried to rescue her. You had Cardinal, who looks like a red Nightcrawler that basically ran away. And so they stole something. We actually found out kind of sort of what it was that they stole in this issue, which I thought was really great. But what was also interesting, I think what we learn here is that is not Wolverine. That is not Magneto and Green. These are possibly Chimera. They are possibly the Chimera, which basically, if you guys remember, these are the mutant soldiers that were genetically engineered by Mr. Sinister for the purpose of fighting the war, right? And so there was moments in there where Magneto makes some statements about the Wolverine-like character that drew me to that conclusion, where he says, you have to forgive him. War has a way of limiting perspective. It is a shortcoming of that seed. It is a shortcoming of that seed, seeds of tomorrow. But the benefits, well, and it kind of leads me down the path that this is not Wolverine. That is not Magneto. These are all Chimera that are basically being given direction from Apocalypse, who is still alive in this futuristic state. So, Zorn, there you go. The one, yeah, they did call him Zorn. I don't know much about Zorn, so I still have to wrap my mind around that, because that is an excellent point. They did call him Zorn, but I didn't hear another name in terms of Magneto or Wolverine. He was referred to, the Wolverine-like character was referred to as basically the seed. And then they do reference Cardinal, Cybele, Percival, but not Magneto and Wolverine. And so we may still find out that they are indeed, but I don't know. I don't know. Again, this is one of the wonderful things about Jonathan Hickman's writing, is he leaves these cliffhangers out there that don't get revealed for an issue or two. So we will have to see. What do you think the quote from Apocalypse on the first page of House of X is directed at? Giving him eternal life. Do you think the Green Magneto in the future? That's a great question. I don't know. I think that's what he's talking about here, is that in one of the previous issues, there was this quote about kind of like, if you rise above them or if you prove to be superior or something like that, I will give you eternal life. We assumed in the last issue that they were talking about Moira, but what he's proposing here is that maybe it was Magneto. I don't know. Your guess is honestly as good as mine. I don't know. I honestly don't know, but we will see. And Modern Sage Comics was like, I think he was referring to Moira. And I say that again, because if you look, Moira has two lives that continue to extend out. And so much of that last issue was all about Moira. And so I kind of felt like it was geared towards her. But again, that's one of the great things about this, is that it's all speculative. None of us know what the truth of the matter is until it's actually revealed. So we will see. We will see. He's like, so ready for the next issue, bro. This one just came out. Relax. But again, I think that there were lots of little epiphanies that were revealed in here. And it was, I think, again, the first two chapters for me were some of my favorites. Towards the end, it started to get just a little dense. And it looked like, I want to say that what it was that the Chimera actually stole, it appeared that what they stole was information on Nimrod. It appeared that what they stole, if you look here, that they stole some information related to Nimrod. And so what I'm trying to figure out, or kind of think my way through, is, are they going to find some way to actually turn the machines, the Nimrod machines, the Sentinels, against humans? And I say that because of this passage right here. I now know we will never going to stop the machines, the technology, the future. It's unavoidable. The question I have is, why is it always aimed at us mutants, to test us, to see if we are fit to survive? So I don't know if they will potentially try to find some way to turn the machines against humans. And I say that because if you look at the Ascension, which is the distant timeline, there is Nimrod the Greater, who is actually the little small thing, Nimrod the Greater. And it appears that Nimrod the Greater is rolling with a mutant, and they are both looking at humans in that tank. And so the question becomes, does Apocalypse and the Chimera find some way to use the technology, right? Because they have some data around this thing, use some technology to affect Nimrod and somehow turn him against humans. It's going to be interesting. That is funny. The next issue hopefully will give us a little bit of insight into some of this thing. So Sully 2 King says, hey, Reggie, here's another nugget for your 6 theory. There are 6 teams that are being formed after House of X and Powers of 10. Yeah, that is correct. That is, I think after that video, no, did I talk about it in that video? I can't remember, but true. There are 6 teams. I have word, supposedly there's some additional waves of teams that are coming out, but yes, I believe that there are 6 new titles that are actually starting in October. And if you watch one of the previous videos, probably 4 live streams back, I have a video where I actually go through each one of those 6 teams, who the rosters are, to provide people with a little bit of insight. But I'm gonna tell you, my pull list is about to swell up. It is about to swell up because I'm about to add at least 6 new titles to it, because I'm at least going to get the first several issues of each one. So here we go. So yeah, so I think he's kind of sort of agreeing with me here that it appears that Nimrod shifts and changes sides and aligns himself, I guess it's a him, with mutants, because he's rolling with the character who has been named the Librarian, who appears to be a mutant because they have blue skin. So again, fantastic writing on the part of Jonathan Hickman that leaves us with all of these speculative questions and thoughts and suggestions, and we can all be right and we can all be wrong. So Moira's mutant power is the mutation that allows mutants to overtake robots. Oh my goodness, you are hilarious. Scrolling down through some of the comments. Pedro, how you doing, my friend? It is good to see you. So again, I think that there's some really fantastic stuff that is happening in here. And I think just like everybody else, I think, you know, excited for the next issue. And again, they answer a lot of questions in this book. They answer a healthy number, and there's still several more that have to be answered. And so to the question someone asked a while ago, why are they doing 2 powers of 10 back to back? It might be because they want to give us some additional insight that allows us to then read House of X and take some additional steps forward. So the next issue that we get may give us some additional insight into, like, you know, these unanswered questions of what happens to Nimrod, and does Professor X, Moira, and Magneto go team up with Apocalypse? So only time will tell. Only time will tell. And again, I think that this is all really just fantastic stuff. The palpable excitement that you hear around this comic, I think, is just fantastic. It is, in fact, one of the more searched comic book terms right now on YouTube. So I definitely dig that, because I think people are getting into it. Now, with that said, looking here at this cover, I saw this cover, not necessarily a fan of this cover right here. Partly because they're not even on the island of Krakoa, or at least that it doesn't feel like they're in the wilderness. This feels like one of those earlier issues that this cover should have been used for. I mean, I don't know. It's just not the best cover in my mind. But again, I think this Powers of 10 issue number 2 was better than issue number 1. So I think that's a really good thing, and looking forward to seeing what the rest of this stuff looks like. Lost Comic Junkie is like, I just put the book down. I need Powers of 10 number 3 now. Oh yeah. I'm telling you, man, I read it twice last night, and I was kind of like, oh, so can I read some more right now? Because I mean, it actually is pretty darn good. And again, ask yourself, when was the last time you read a book where you were like, I have to get the next issue right now? I think it's fantastic what Marvel is doing. So they say on the Mark Brooks connecting cover number 1, everyone there is there for a reason. Zoomed in on a little bug on the grass at the bottom of the right. I'll have to look back at that. This is an excellent point right here. So if you guys remember back, and we actually talked about this in previous videos, I actually showed you guys in the Seeds of Tomorrow, the Mark Brooks spread. It's actually a double spread that has been made into a connecting cover. In this thing, they basically say Mark Brooks drew from decades of X-Men storytelling and included dozens of Easter eggs while drawing this House of X Powers of 10 teaser image. And so this is the image that we're alluding to right now, where if you look at this thing, there are lots of little interesting things that happen in this book. You have like a Weapon X version of Wolverine. You have, you know, Charles sitting on a bench with Moira, and we've seen how that plays out. His Cerebro helmet is sitting on the ground. You have Bill the Lobster down here sitting in the bottom of the grass. I mean, I think that there are all kinds of little tidbits that are woven in here that we haven't yet realized the significance of them just yet. So if you get a chance, make sure you check this out. This is the Mark Brooks connecting cover. It is the image in Seeds of Tomorrow, but it's also a cover that is out and available for purchase. So look into it, see if there's something there. But again, I think there's all kinds of nuggets. I think that these guys are doing a fantastic job of just kind of just putting all kinds of just nuggets out there. So what does it say? The Mark Brooks connecting cover for the first issue has been my favorite cover thus far. There you go, Pedro. Kingpin Comics. Are you buying a physical and digital copies of House of X and Powers of X? So message me offline about that. I'll tell you the story behind that. I am buying every single issue in hard copy, and I'm buying multiple copies of each issue. I think I get at least 3 copies of each one, at least 3 copies. Because again, I'm a fan of the X-Men, man. So I want to one copy maybe to send off to CGC to be graded and encapsulated. I roughly handle at least one here just because I'm trying to do research. I'm trying to do videos and that kind of stuff. And then I typically have one other as kind of like a backup in case, something happens. So I at least get 3 copies that I can actually hang on to. And again, it's only 12 issues, so I don't feel too bad about it. I will probably see you there, Matthew. Silicon Valley Comic-Con is going down this weekend. It actually starts tomorrow, runs through, I think, Monday. I'm probably going to be there on Saturday, hanging out. I don't know how long I'm going to be there, but I'm going to be there. Sammy is in the house. How you doing, Sammy? It is good to see you. Yeah, there is some interesting stuff. There is Bill the Lobster. There is Baby Havoc. There's like Baby Storm, even though she's a little bit older. There's the Weapon X version of Wolverine that's in there. There's a couple of versions of like the Phoenix and Marvel Girl. I think there's 2 Cyclops. I mean, it's just, it's a wonderful collage of stuff. Bishop's in there. I mean, a lot of people are in this thing. It's a really well done image. And I think that there's all kinds of details that are just crammed in there. So the variants are okay. The variants are okay. I'm not going to lie. I did a little damage with the IG comic store because I dig them and they have really cool covers. And so I did a lot of that stuff. And then I've been doing like more of the limited store variants. So if there's like 2 per store, 1 per store, I've been picking those up from one of my comic shops. But I'm not going all out. I'm not going all out because I have to have some limits and parameters in place. But again, I'm definitely enjoying this thing. Baby Havoc. Hopefully I'll see you there, Matt. So, all right. So there we go. So that's pretty much it. I want to just give you guys again that little bit of a download. Again, we got some awesome artwork that has come in from Seabird Studios. It is the Gibbon. We are hopefully going to get this turned into a t-shirt. You can see there's a big crease in this thing. United States Postal Service does not care about comics or original art. Anyway, I'm getting myself out of here. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me just a little bit. Hopefully you enjoyed this live stream. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so. Regie Collects on Instagram and regiecollects@gmail.com. And just let me know if you need something. Take care.